contrario, que aquí estoy yo.
Salsa. For some, it's musical enjoyment. For others, it can mean more. The members of La Típica are unlike any other salsa band in the world. They are not professionals who are organized for the sole purpose of making money. In fact, what makes this band different is that it was organized to give young men a way out of an environment that has trapped so many. For them, salsa has become a musical path to a more productive life. They are former gang members, drug users, and misfits who have spent the early part of their lives running from police or fighting. Nearly 98% of those who come here looking for a new life will not return to the street existence they once knew. Around here, they call that growing up salsa.
Avísale a mi contrario que aquí estoy yo. Que venga para que aprecie el dulce cantar. Después no quiero que diga que di la rumba y no lo invite. Y venga para que aprecie comodidad.
This is the northwest side of Chicago. It is the heart of the Puerto Rican community. Life here at best is difficult. The conditions that exist here didn't happen overnight. They started when the neighborhood began to change. As more and more Puerto Ricans moved in, white residents moved out. City services began to deteriorate. As time went on, buildings were abandoned and later burned. Investigators usually suspected arson, but it was seldom proved. In several instances, owners of the buildings relinquished all responsibility and just walked away. The once proud homes that symbolized status in the community now remained as nothing more than a reminder of what once was. The quality of life in the neighborhood declined, and it was replaced by poverty, fear, and frustration. Gangs began to rule the streets, and their graffiti marred once clean walls. Parents began losing control of their children. Marriages broke up, and the youngsters no longer knew their homes. Respect for authority diminished. Educators spent school hours policing students, and consequently, there was no time to teach. As a result, the dropout rate skyrocketed. Police officers were looked upon as representatives of the city that looked down on Puerto Ricans, and for the most part, a city that ignored this community's problems. Because of mutual mistrust and misunderstandings, many of the residents here were made to feel like criminals. Since they were splintered as an ethnic group, they were unable to muster any political clout in a city where clout means everything. As a result, individuals within the community began organizing programs that were aimed at improving conditions in a trouble-ridden barrio. Athletic youth programs attempted to redirect the energies of the young. Unfortunately, none of the athletic programs provided by the different community organizations gave youngsters any sense of cultural identity. In 1968, however, a new direction was taken. A soft-spoken gentleman by the name of Carlos Caribe Ruiz came up with an idea of redirecting the energies of an existing organization, the Puerto Rican Congress, from sports to music and art.
I call you here to talk to you about something very important. Some of the guys in the band have been telling me that you dropped out of the Circle campus. Now, you know damn well, how hard we're working here to get you back into school after you came from Puerto Rico, all right? Four of the main important things that we pointed out in here before we took you into the music business was your education, no drugs, no drinking, and discipline, and dedication to your band. Okay, now you get out of school after we struggled so hard to get you back.
He managed to help the organization's youthful members achieve a sense of cultural pride and accomplishment. He did this by forming the Congress's first salsa band, La Justicia.
first orchestra, which is a name, which is now an institution, you know, La Justicia, that stands for justice. It's probably one of the dearest, you know, groups, you know, that clings to our heart, because to me, they were the pioneers of all these big, great things that is happening here now in music and art, mural painting and all that. To me, those first members of that group, La Justicia, that they were from, all of them from Division in California in the Humboldt Park area. They were the ones that they really started everything rolling in here in Chicago. And I'm so excited about them because they have expanded into so many different leadership categories, you know, groups, leaderships, that I tell you, to me, it's the greatest thing that ever happened here in the Latino community, especially the Puerto Rican community.
Cocinando suave, pochonga cocinando.
You were a performer, right?
I'm a professional dancer, an ex-professional dancer.
As a performer, how do you feel when you see these kids up on stage and you see the reception they get from the crowds?
I feel that I am living life over again. You know, I had that glory, and I know how it feels and how to be accepted. And because you feel that, I feel it for them, and I become part of it. That's why I get so dedicated to it. Because when I did see them succeed, I see myself in part succeed too, because I was part of that environment, and I know how it is to be accepted, and I know how it is to be appreciated for a talent that you have that very few people recognize. But when a big gathering recognizes, that makes a person that important, makes him that he accomplished something. And I feel the same way, that I have accomplished something when I see them succeed.
Those who was probably helped the most was Teddy Serrano. At age 15, he was the leader of one of Chicago's largest gangs. He had a difficult home life and was seldom at school. Teddy, being a gang member, was a form of acceptance. Wherever he walked, he was feared, and he mistook this for respect. Now, as a leader of the brass section of his band, the others look up to him with a respect that he has earned. Now he knows the difference between this strength and the feeling of strength based on fear. Teddy, what was your life like before you came to the Congress?
Well, I was a president of a gang called the Warlords by Damon and Evergreen. We've done lots of things together, a lot of good things together, a lot of bad things together. All right. And it wasn't exactly all right. We hang around together in the corner. We used to go to this one school, this one playground. We could park, play softball. And after that, we go drink, go get high and do something else.
Did you ever get into fights or trouble with the police?
Not too much, because, well, the guys did. I was at home most of the time. When I used to come out, and I didn't have nothing else to do in my house, I used to go out and hang around with them for a few. That's about it.
Why did you leave the gangs?
Well, I left it because they were getting too rowdy and too wild, you know. Then I found out about the Congress, because my sister's godmother, she used to be a member from the Congress, and she told me that he had a couple of bands here, and I was at that time learning how to play trumpet. So I checked out. I seen one of the bands play, and I got interested. So I talked to him. He put me in a band.
Could you go back to that type of life, Tim?
I doubt it. No, I don't think so. Because if I ever leave the Congress, they already have brought me up, and they told me a lot. I won't leave the Congress anyway, So there's no doubt about that. Me going back to the gangs. Humble, too fast.
Teddy now sees himself as a useful member of society. He sees the system in a different light. It once appeared repressive, but now the future is promising. And he speaks of the day when he will join the police force and hopefully become an investigator in gang intelligence. This young man never had time for gangs. He spent all of his spare time making bombs.
Well, we used to make explosives, and nothing really serious, just small things like fire bombs and some smoke bombs.
You weren't afraid of blowing up your fingers or anything like that?
Well, I used to take a lot of extra precautions and stuff like that. But I used to wrap everything up really carefully before I started putting anything together. Just so no friction would set anything off.
What do you do for kicks now?
Now, well, I'm in the band, and so that takes up pretty much of my time. And also, I like to consider myself an artist. I spend a lot of time drawing and do some writing.
What kind of writing do you like?
Well, I write mostly short things like poetry and some short stories. Well, I plan to go to college, and I guess I'm going to major in music and English, basically. That's what I want to do, and I don't know. I haven't decided whether I want to be a full-time writer, musician yet.
Miguel is typical of the youngsters who have found their way into the Congress. Like the others who have come here, he now has a vehicle to overcome the obstacles that would have prevented him from leaving the barrio.
1, 2, 1, 2. Full-time writer, musician yet.
Miguel is typical of the youngsters who have found their way into the Congress. Like the others who have come here, he now has a vehicle to overcome the obstacles that would have prevented him from leaving the barrio.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Carlos Garcia's story is a little bit different. He is here at the Congress because he wants to be a musician. He first became interested in salsa when he moved from Puerto Rico to California. He liked salsa music so much that he was on his way to New York with hopes of playing in a band there. He only got as far as Chicago. Now he's playing with La Justicia.
El día en que me llamaste fue traición. Qué bonito lo pintaste, hablándome de confusión. Reparando tu juego estabas tú, diciendo que me querías, a qué acto disfraste tú. Un amor como el tuyo no encontraré, pero ahora que te fuiste, un amor que buscaré. Un amor como el tuyo no encontraré, pero ahora que te fuiste, un amor que buscaré. Te esperé tanto tiempo llorando, viviendo con la esperanza que ya pronto te cortará en mi brazo para no soltarte más. Ay, qué bien equivocado, ya veo que me dejaste atrás. Un amor como el tuyo no encontraré, pero ahora que te fuiste, un amor que buscaré. Un amor como el tuyo no encontraré, pero ahora que te fuiste, un amor que buscaré. don't feel that I've quite conquered my dream yet, but I feel that I've advanced 100% from what I was doing back in the LA area. Like, and I was a musician there, but there wasn't any place to expand, and there wasn't a place to go to get in touch with the kind of people and musicians that were into the type of music that I was into. And that, moving out this way, I got a little bit closer to it. I wasn't actually headed here when I came, but I did stop here, and it turned out to be fortunate for me, and I stayed 2 years now, with Caribe.
What was your life like before? Were you into drugs, things like that?
Yeah, I think most musicians that have progressed in any manner or another, especially around in a city like this and where I'm from, at one time or another, we've all encountered the drug thing. I never, got into the real heavy thing, thanks to God, but I experimented while I was growing up in that, and I guess I experimented enough to find out, just where my head was really at, and I guess I got a different type of insight at looking at everything, but it was like while I was experiencing that, you needed something to do to, while you were high or whatever, and there was always music for me, and so I, at one point I got to choose, where is the high really at, in the music or in what you're taking, before you listen to the music, and I found that it's really in the music, so, I learned to do it without the high, without the drugs and everything, and, I just, music has done everything for me. It's keeping me away from a lot of things, that a lot of guys won't get a chance to stay away from,
During the day, Carlos works at a company that makes musical instruments. But at night, it's salsa, working towards a career as a professional musician. For Carlos, the world of music is where it's at. That's not necessarily the case with Juan Jap Castro. Juan is one person who has never left the barrio. He's here because he's come full circle. Juan says he used to be a loner and a drunk.
Remember before? Okay, today we're gonna work on page 92. Okay? And exercise D.
Now, he's a teacher's aide in the Chicago public school system, helping bilingual children. He believes that he can relate to his students better than any of the teachers here at the Pulaski School.
Well, I try not to, to look or relate to them as teacher and student. I try to come down to their level, as a person to person, and I get them to feel good about being with me, tell them a few jokes and just so they can feel relaxed.
What about the kids who want to drop out? How do you get them to stay in school?
Well, I tell them a little bit about myself and, what I went through when I was younger. And, I dropped out of school myself, and then I was fortunate to have gone through the Puerto Rican Congress. And they convinced me to, try to take up something and finish my school. So I went into GED, and I took that and I passed it, and then they got me the jobs, with the Board of Education and that. And, I would go on and I would tell them that, and I would tell them that it's not good, because they wouldn't feel it now, but later on when they were older, they would come to realize how important it was to have some kind of an education, some kind of background, something to rely on in their future life when they were older, and it was really important.
What was your life like before you got to the Congress?
Well, before I became involved in the Puerto Rican Congress, I was a very timid person, very shy, always to myself, you might say a loner. And things weren't looking too good for me then, because, just for that reason, because I couldn't communicate with people. I was afraid, and I don't know what I was afraid of. I think about that now. And, I was falling into the habit of drinking a lot, because I don't know why, I was just kind of doing it, and then it was just I was kind of falling into the picture of always drinking and being to myself and not communicating with people, not socializing. And fortunately, when I became involved with the Puerto Rican Congress, they slowly but surely got me out of that by putting me in a band as a singer, because I could sing. then, you know. I still don't think I can really sing, but they think so, so they tell me so. And, well, they got me out there in front of the band, involved singing with the band, and, well, slowly but surely, eventually, I got out of the, you know, the habit of being to myself and not communicating with people. I was in a position where I had to. Being a singer, I had to sing, and then I had to communicate with the people and talk with the people, and that got me out of it. Sooner or later, I just realized that it was nothing. It was, you know, just all in my head.
The lives of these young men might have been considerably different had it not been for this man. Carlos Caribe Ruiz cares about what happens to the members of his Congress. Caribe was born in a rural town of Cabo Rojo, Puerto Rico in 1926. At the age of 14, he dropped out of school and went to live in New York's Lower East Side. By working days and studying nights, he managed to complete his high school. At the age of 17, he entered the Army. During his tour of duty, he studied at the Juilliard School of Music and the Harnett School of Music. Shortly after leaving the service, he moved to Chicago, where in 1949, he and the other 200 Puerto Ricans who lived here founded the very first Puerto Rican Congress. Since then, he has seen Chicago's Puerto Rican community grow to more than 250,000. Caribe says the Congress was founded originally to provide Puerto Ricans with a club atmosphere. Members gathered, formed baseball teams, and conducted other social events.
The history of the Congress to us has been nothing but problems, economically deprived organization, self-sacrifice. We work with practically nothing. You see, the art of working to us is not, you know, working with a lot of money. We're working with a lot of will and a lot of power and what we have at hand. If we don't have a new item, we fix it. We got to use one and we fix it. The history of the Congress, I think, is about the greatest hardships that we have had has been economically, but it's been in existence now for 28 years almost. And we have done everything from social welfare, employment, social, civic. We are credited with organizing close to 20 chapters. We're credited with organizing the first Puerto Rican parade. Out of this small place, very big things come out.
As the years have progressed, as time has gone on, has your job here at the Congress gotten more difficult?
Yes, it got more difficult in a sense that sometimes I have to be more rougher, more direct, and I have to be more rude as generations change. But now, I will be more forward, more rude, and less compassionate, because I know I'm dealing with people that they're better educated, and the people that they understand that as time changes, you gotta be that rough in order to get things accomplished. I'd say it's changed. It's made my job easier, because out of the young people that they've been involved here through the years, they have made my job easier because they have taken a very big sense of responsibilities that I can delegate responsibilities on them, that it makes my job easier. It has grown so tremendously, so I have to delegate authority. I cannot do everything myself.
It has been Caribe's drive that has kept the Congress together. He has since helped in organizing a chapter in New York and one in Puerto Rico. But his proudest accomplishment has been the use of salsa music to help the young in his community.
I think that we should have more people like him here in the Chicago community, and that would have the time to work with the young people and do everything that he's done for the people here at the Puerto Rican Congress. Get some of the kids off of the street and get them to do something constructive, like what we're doing here. A lot of us didn't have all this before we got together with him, but we're doing all right. Thanks to Caribe.
Well, Caribe done a lot for me. I mean, I was young and I was in the street, gangs and, you know, all that stuff. Well, he took me out of the gang, out of the street, and then he put me into the music.
And I think he's like feel it more than we do. Seeing us get involved like in gangs and drugs, he prefers being clean than being involved.
Well, I think he's been doing it for a long time, and that's just, he's been around so long. He's been doing that with baseball, and I don't know. That's just him, Caribe. Before I came to the band, I didn't know nothing. I learned a lot of things, and I have to thank him for that. I appreciate it.
Estoy muy agradecido a Caribe. Gracias.
Because of the efforts of Carlos Caribe Ruiz, these young men will most probably become productive members of the community. Caribe says that's what growing up salsa is all about.